Exactly a month ago, when our family and loved ones traveled abroad, never in a million years did we think our father would not be coming back home to be with us. It wasn't even a thought in our minds because of his sheer will, determination, and fighting spirit with which he lived his life. Anyone that knows him will know that our father has never been someone to complain about anything, because he never wanted anyone to worry about him. He was always cheerful, witty, charming, and charismatic, so you would never know he was not feeling 100%. Up until the last moment, nothing changed. He was always smiling and making everyone around him laugh. I remember a specific time when the doctor came in to see him and said, "Good morning, Mr. Panday. How are you feeling today?" And he replied, "Doc, if I was feeling well, I wouldn't be here." Always full of spirit to the extent that everyone who met him immediately loved him. And so when he left us last Monday, our world shook, never to be the same again. I remember it clearly, like so many others who have lost a loved one. The shock, pain, and disbelief was numbing. But when you grow up, as my sisters and I have, a sense of duty immediately kicks in. Yes, he is our dad, but he did not belong to us alone. He loved people, and people loved him. And so we knew instinctively that although this was one of the most difficult things we were ever going to face in our lives, we had to balance our own grief, looking after our mother, and putting country before self as our father would do. Our father was fearless, honest, strong-willed, disciplined, polite, humble, kind, selfless, hardworking, like no one I have ever known or will ever know. These were the traits that would begin to shine as a young boy into adulthood and eventually define his style of leadership. The arc of his life from rural poverty to political dominance is unrivaled. And he archived this and he achieved this by his unwavering commitment to his core principles. Like his dear friend John Humphrey, and so many others of his era who were his allies, Dad was a forward-thinking visionary, always able to think outside the box, to come up with solutions for seemingly unsolvable problems. Age never slowed him down in this regard. He became energized any time you engaged him in discussions about political, economic, and social issues. He was always willing to listen and to advise when asked. And this continued right up to the end of his life. He was a pioneer who genuinely believed in equality and non-discrimination. And his government's achievements in the 6 years that he was Prime Minister are a testament to that. My father's government introduced the Equal Opportunities Act, the Maternity Protection Act, the Freedom of Information Act, and established the Interim Revenue Stabilization Fund, now known as the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. The Dollar for Dollar program built schools and police stations, paved our roads, provided water and housing, paid off our country's debt to the IMF, and kept crime at its lowest this country has ever seen in recent history. Dad never spoke the language of race, publicly or privately. He was equal in his treatment of everyone, in both his public and private lives. He was a genuine patriot who believed in equality for all. His guiding philosophy was always that the purpose of life is happiness, and happiness is a right of everyone, provided one's happiness does not harmfully impose upon another's. He strove all his life for all of our nation's people to achieve this. Dad was blessed with my dear mom, a devoted wife, and 4 daughters who love him fiercely, and 2 granddaughters who adore their grandpa. He was a great father who supported us in all our choices without ever being judgmental. And while he may not have always been physically present when we were growing up, he was always there when we needed him. He taught us that it is not always about being the best, but about doing your best. And while he taught us to be focused, he also taught us the importance of having a sense of humor, which reminded me of a story when I was younger. My primary school was putting on a Christmas play in Gulf City Auditorium. I would have been about 5 or 6. And I was cast as a snowflake. I really wanted Dad to be there, and he promised me that he would be. So there I was on stage, running around in a circle, and at the same time, trying to look in the audience for Dad when I slipped and fell. Full of embarrassment, I got up and continued with the performance. When the play was finished and the lights went on, I was so ecstatic to see Dad and excited to ask him what he thought about this very important dance. And he said, "Mick, it was great, but that was the first time I ever see a snowflake fall so hard." We hugged and burst out into laughter. That was our Dad. Always there to make you feel better. Forgive me.
Always there.
In his own way.
Yes. On behalf of my mother and sisters, I would like to thank absolutely everyone for the enormous outpouring of love and kindness that has been shown to us. We truly, truly appreciate it. Thank you for the kind words and personal stories you have shared with us over the last week about our Dad. To all those who took time to visit him at the Red House and Sapa while lying in honor, we thank you.
I don't know if I'm going to breach protocol by saying this, but I have to say to Dr. Amory Brown and his team who moved mountains to help bring our Dad back home, and absolutely everyone who worked tirelessly to pull together a state funeral of this magnitude in less than a week. We thank you. And of course, thank you to everyone who came here today to bid him farewell. Above all, thank you, God, for gifting my Dad to all of us in this beloved Twin Island nation. Thank you, Dad, for your unwavering commitment to your country, your people, your family, friends, and loved ones. We will miss you dearly, but never ever forget you. Goodbye, Papa.
Goodbye, Dad.